Carson Beck and Miami are on upset alert as they host Byrum Brown in South Florida, hot off an upset victory against Billy Napier and the Gators. Ooh, and senior college football writer for the Sporting News, Bill Bender, returns to the show to preview Miami versus USF, as well as to discuss Colorado's quarterback situation and whether they should start third-string quarterback Ryan Staub after his performance against Delaware here. All that and more here on The Other Side. What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Welcome back to another edition of Bailey Price Media Live. You're just getting in the building. Go ahead and pound that like button, subscribe, become a member of the Bailey Price Media Army today. We got a lot to talk about here. We got a very, very special guest returning the show, and I can't wait to discuss all things college football with him because he is an expert to say the least on college football, and it's an honor to have his perspective and his viewpoint here on the show to discuss several different things across college football here. And without further ado, go ahead and bring him in. Our main man, senior writer for the Sporting News, Ohio U graduate, our main man, Bill Bender, joins the show. Bill, what up, man? Happy Tuesday. Welcome back to the show. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's great, man. It's great to be in the season, Bill. It's great to be talking football. It's great that football is rolling here. It's a long season here and a lot of different storylines to discuss here. And I wanted to bring you on, get right into it here. I got to ask you, is Miami on upset alert against South Florida and Byrum Brown coming hot off an upset against Billy Napier in Florida? They head down to Hard Rock Stadium to take on Carson Beck and the Canes here. I want to go ahead and preview this matchup, Bill. What are your keys to victory for Miami? And then are they on upset alert here? What are your thoughts?
Well, Bailey, I don't know if anybody is alert. I think we've already been alerted to the fact that South Florida's for real. You know, obviously they took advantage of a lot of Florida mistakes last week. 100 penalty yards. Brown, excellent quarterback. You know, Byrum Brown, he's done a nice job of running that offense. I think the South Florida defense is what I'm interested to see how they hold up against a very strong Miami offensive line with 2 NFL tackles. But watch South Florida just break up everything Boise State wanted to do and made life difficult for Florida as well. I don't know if the joyride will last another week.
From that program, they pay. Florida paid them $500,000 to play them and lose. It's ironic. Now going to the Miami side here, I think Miami's been playing well so far. Obviously, Carson Beck seems to fit in with his receiver. C.J. Daniels obviously having an unbelievable one-handed grab here. You got the young freshman phenom Malachi Toney. I mean, man, a lot of weapons here for Carson Beck and the Canes. That offensive line, that run game looks really, really good. What are your expectations for the Canes here in this game? What are their keys to victory against South Florida?
Well, look at the way that Carson Beck throws the ball down the field. Not just that he does it. He's 9 of 17. That's over 50% on passes of 20 yards or more, but he has 4 touchdowns on those passes. So they're maximizing. You mentioned Malachi. He's incredible in space. He's a fun player. I like the 3-star. I don't know where you live. I know Heritage, Florida, though. I don't know Florida high school ball, but I know those guys always have players, and he can play. So, I mean, you have him out in space, and, you know, those of us that follow high school football pretty closely in Ohio and Florida and Texas and Cali, we know who the players are, and he's certainly stepped in. The trenches, though, right? It really comes down to that offensive line. Do they push South Florida around? Do they get the running game going? And do they keep Carson Beck comfortable? No picks so far. That's another stat we always look at.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to discuss on the South Florida side here. They're coming hot off an upset victory. You mentioned their defense. Their defense looked extremely physical. They opened up the season against Boise. They look like a whole new team defensively. Now, going back over the years, they've played, Alabama tough. They played extremely tough when they came down to Tampa. They played some of these teams, these taller tier teams, pretty tough. Now, year 3, Alex Golesh, I'm excited. What are your expectations for South Florida? Keys to victory for them in this game?
Again, don't give up the big plays. Todd Orlando's obviously a veteran defensive coordinator, and they have really good linebackers. Jalen Schiller, he's on like Defensive Player of the Year award list right now. Mac Harris is having a good start. These guys have combined for over 30 tackles, I think, something like that. It's ridiculous. So it really starts in the front seven, keeping the big plays in front, not getting knocked out in the first quarter, because then you kind of know it's wearing off a little bit, and playing with that same mentality. They do have a lot of penalties. They have to cut down penalties in this game. You can't have 60 to 75 yards worth of penalties and expect to beat Miami, because I think Miami, like we said, I love the headline on the graphic, upset alert. Well, Miami's already been alerted to this. They saw what happened to the Gators last week and to Boise State the week before that.
Bingo. In an in-state game like this, they cannot drop a game like this, especially Miami's got some upcoming opponents. They got to play Florida here pretty soon as well. They cannot drop this game, but I think South Florida comes in with a lot of momentum here, and it really comes down to who makes the plays here and who doesn't shoot themselves in the foot with penalties, like you mentioned, etc. It's going to be a hell of a matchup here come this weekend. Bill, we got a lot to discuss here on the Colorado standpoint. I just got off 0 to 60 with Matt McChesney talking their quarterback situation, because there are several. I don't even know what to call it here. We came out yesterday after Ryan Staub's performance against Delaware, and it seems like they were going to lean into starting him. I did a video with Coach Fred, Alcorn State Coach Lou, or Frederick yesterday about why I thought they should still lean with the kid Caden Salter coming from Liberty and all his experience. I wanted to get your opinion on the Colorado quarterback situation before we hear Coach Prime's comments on it. What are your thoughts on the quarterback situation? As they seem to have 3 quarterbacks here battling it out, I guess, headed into week 3.
Yeah, it's puzzling in some ways. Salter played well, I thought, against Georgia Tech. And he offers in the running game. He offers a lot there. And, obviously Julian Lewis, there's a recruiting background there. Both of those guys, as my editor pointed out, and they were both at Big 12 Media Day. I didn't think Staub was even a factor. The ball didn't touch the ground much against Delaware, so it's hard to read off that competition. But it really does beg the question whether there's going to be a little bit of a revolving door against Houston. That's a Big 12 game, and Houston's 2-0, I think. 2-0, yeah, they are. Yep. And an improved Cougars team. So, if we thought Colorado was going to be boring in year 3 with Deion Sanders, we were sadly mistaken.
Oh, we sadly were. And they go head down to Houston, take on Willie Fritz, Connor Wagerman. That team is – Willie Fritz is a winner. He turns around programs. He turned around Tulane. Now Houston's his next project here, and I think he got a really good team down there. I think a lot of Colorado fans and people covering are just overlooking like this is a breeze for Colorado when they don't. Colorado don't even know who their quarterback is right now. I would love to get your perspective on it after seeing the 3 play. Who would you roll with and why?
I'd still go with Salter. Isn't that what you just said? Yeah, I'm with you. I am. I think. There's a lot of experience there when you start revolving quarterbacks around. One thing you'll hear from is the receivers and tight ends. These are the guys that catch the passes in practice. And, if you and I go outside and throw a football to my 14-year-old son, regardless of who's the better quarterback is, it's going to look different to him, right? Yeah, so. And I think when you have 3 different guys, it makes reps harder in practice. I've heard Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, Ohio State receivers, talking about that when the Buckeyes were trying to figure out who their quarterback was. So it is going to affect the timing in the passing game, no matter how you look at it, depending on which one of these 3 guys starts.
Yeah, and going into the Delaware game, Matt McChesney and I talked about how Colorado needs to find an offensive identity. In Georgia Tech, I was on the opinion that Salter had played well. He was a little timid. I guess he was sick or whatever. It just felt like those game 1 jitters. He's in a new system, a brand new stadium. Obviously, he's never played in Folsom Field. Going into week 2, I was like, Colorado needs to find their offensive identity. Whether that's you lean into the run game like you have a massive offensive line. Your run game coordinator, running back coach is Marshall Falk. Andre Gerard's your offensive line coach who played there. it seems like you would lean into that. And coming out of the Delaware game, I don't see it. I don't see an offensive identity here. And that now the quarterback thing seems to be a distraction to me. So now I'm like going into game 3 in practice this week. Colorado's got to find who their quarterback is. Now Staub has taken some first-team reps for the Buffs. Caden Salter's also repping with the ones. I think Julian Lewis, it's established that he may be a little young and may need some development, and that's fine. I think he's the future for them. I don't think they really expected him to. Ultimately, I didn't think they were going to rely on him to play in day 1. It brings into question what they're going to do for Houston in their conference opener. I'm like pulling from here like, let's listen to Coach Prime's comments on the quarterback situation from this morning.
Today's media, we don't care about being correct anymore. We just want to be first. And there's no subjection to you when you're wrong. Nobody says nothing. You just go with it. I'm not saying that's the case, but that's where we are in media. Nobody gives a darn about being correct and being right. Everybody just want to be first. That don't make no sense to me. I would love the integrity that we once had with media.
Now, Bill, let me just preface this by saying Matt McChesney and I have discussed this at length because I think at times his take on the media is hypocritical because I think the media they don't push at him. They don't ask him questions, especially in his response to Colorado's clock management last week and now him going at the media about basically just reporting. I mean, ESPN came out with the Staub report. Now, he came out and said something about Brandon Davis Swain is going to get a bigger role and several other things. And I'm like, why would you say that, but then go at the media about the quarterback reporting? You're a really prominent figure in media. You've done this for a long time. What is your perspective and reaction to this? I'm curious.
I spoke to Dion. I'm trying to think. Remember when he had the back and forth with a reporter last year? And
Sean Keeler, yeah.
That's it. I spoke to Dion, I think, a week later, and it was a very, one-on-one conversation, and it was good. It was cordial. He was great. We talked about the why that happened and those kind of things. It does work both ways. It's our job to report. It's our job to criticize. I will say Dion is a guy that everything gets magnified and criticized more because he's Dion, and he is, in my opinion, as an older guy, he's the greatest cover corner to ever play football, in my opinion. I mean, there's others that we can do that some other time, but he is at least on the list. And, as a coach, he's really pulled through. He's turned this program around, and there is a little media paranoia sometimes, but he's going to do it his way. They managed to keep his health concerns, and thankfully bladder cancer, that's a serious deal. Yeah. They were able to keep that under wraps for a very long time. And, so he is a private person in that regard, but he definitely reads the headlines and definitely holds us accountable. But I think it can go both ways.
That's well said, Bill. I just wanted to I think that's great. I think getting your perspective on it, that's unbelievable. I just wanted to hear it because I'm like, Matt and I have discussed it. I want to get something like an authentic perspective of media. Shout out to you, Bill. That's a really good way to put it there. Let's take a listen to some other comments on Coach Prime and the quarterback situation here as we continue to discuss it.
There was a report by Pete Thamel that Ryan Staub is the expected starter against Houston. Are you able to confirm that?
I'm not confirming nothing to y'all. Y'all know that. We ain't like that. We good. We have capable guys. Staub has been doing a phenomenal job doing and getting the majority of the reps, but I haven't made that assessment and decision yet.
So, no decision out of Boulder right now. I think it's a Caden Salter, Ryan Staub battle in practice here, but clock is ticking. Really, you got Monday and Tuesday to practice. You're going down to Houston. They play Friday, so Wednesday is kind of a walkthrough, and you're gone. So it's I think we're going to find out pretty quickly here, or we will find out nothing, and then Friday we'll find out a kickoff. Either way, eyes will be on this Big 12 opener for the Buffs. Bill, you're an Ohio U graduate, correct?
Correct.
The Bobcats, I wanted to ask you, they take on Ohio State this weekend, and I wanted to ask you, your guys' coach, Brian Smith, made some interesting comments about Caleb Downs. I guess he's getting some heat because I called him a receiver or something. Take a listen to this.
Obviously, Ohio State, #1 team in the country, but they also have arguably the best 2 players in college football with Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith. Just what goes into preparing to deal with those two?
Yeah, 2 of the best receivers in the country for sure. And Yeah, so definitely our defense has their hands full with that one, which is challenging. Of what do you want to take away?
This is like a big thing, I guess, is going around social media here. I'm going to be watching the game here. Obviously, Ohio State's massive favorites, but I mean, this program in the last years, I guess, gone through a lot in the last year, lost their coach, gone through kind of a roster exodus, so to speak. So it's kind of a new roster, if you will. And I'm saying it broadly. Kind of give us your perspective here as a graduate alumnus. What do you think of this?
I'm going to guess, and I'm going to speculate that Coach Smith thought he said Carnell Tate. Yeah, there's no way that he doesn't know who Caleb Downs is. And I think he was probably, and guys zone out when you get asked questions sometimes. Yeah. That is, I'm not obviously he made a mistake there, and Ohio State fans will find anything to find an edge against anybody. We know that. But yeah, I'm guessing he meant to compliment Carnell Tate in this, or Brandon Ennis, or whoever, behind those guys, Max Clare, the tight ends, everybody that Ohio State has. I think Ohio knows the challenge they're up against. Obviously, coming off a huge win against West Virginia. Obviously, 33-point underdogs. I was actually in the stands. They played in 1999. That's how old I am. They played the Buckeyes up there, and several of my friends in college were on the field. I was friends with some of these football players, and Ohio was up 10-3, and that was our victory. It was awesome. We had it short-lived. Chad Brinker, he's actually with the Titans now in their management, and he scored an early touchdown in that game. And then the Buckeyes came back in the second half, won 40-16. But to understand that the guys that are running through that tunnel for Ohio on Saturday are living a dream of their own. Several of those guys probably dreamed of being Buckeyes, and they get to run out of that tunnel one time, and it'll be a fun game. Though you will see. I don't even know what the word would be. Some smatterings of green in the shoe, and we're very proud alum. Very proud of last week, and I heard the atmosphere in West Virginia was amazing. But I'm going to defend Coach Smith and say he probably thought that student journalist, it sounded like, and probably a very good one coming up, that they said Carnell Tate.
I agree with you there. I was just this is a thing reactive of social media. You would think, the Tate, and you would think that's who he's thinking of for sure. So that's.
Caleb Downs might be one of the best receivers in the country if they put him there. Who knows? He is
seriously, he's an unbelievable player. And Ohio State defensively, I think, is really, really strong. Patricia, the D coordinator, their inside backer play, Styles and them, they got some inside backers. So I'm excited to watch this game this weekend. I'll watch every single game that I can here. Shouts to the Bobcats, and I just got to get your perspective as an Ohio U alum. My final question for you, Bill. It's been great having you back on the show. Heisman watch going into week 3. Do you have anybody? John Mateer seems to be at the top of the list. He got a massive victory against Michigan. It was an 11-point game, but if you watch that game, it could have been a lot more, and it seemed like a lot more. Him and his OC Arbuckle seem to be really clicking. Any Heisman players to throw out there early in the season before we get you out of here?
I think that's the guy, and there's some shades of Baker in his game, no doubt. He made some critical throws in that Michigan game, played really well. He'll get rushing yards too. That's what I keep saying. If you look at the history of the Heisman since Cam Newton, 1,000-yard rusher, Jaden, 1,000 yards, Kyler, 1,000 yards, Lamar, Johnny Manziel, all those guys rushed for 1,000 yards on top of their passing statistics. And, it is a statistical award in some ways. There's no question. And, I think that's something to watch. So if John Mateer continues to put up big numbers, he's going to have that inside track. What we haven't had yet is like the Travis Hunter type player, the Ashton Genty, the video game player that you're like, there's no way this guy's real. Jeremiah Smith could be that guy, and he showed that a little bit against Grambling. If he has huge numbers against Penn State and Michigan, I would keep an eye on Jeremiah Smith because we know he is the video game player in this bunch.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. It's all about how Ohio State gets in the ball. You saw a little back and forth with that in the Texas game, obviously against Grambling much more, and I expect that to pick up in the bigger games. So I think they're going to need to rely on him, especially when it comes down to crunch time for sure. Mateer's playing unbelievable. You could throw. I don't know. It's kind of early. I think those are the headliners right now, and I think some others may or may not emerge as the season goes on. Bill, it's been great having you back on the show. Love to have you back on again. To those who are watching, go check out Bill, the Sporting News. He does an unbelievable job. He's a veteran in the game, does a great job, great perspective. And Bill, it's great having you on, man. I hope you have a great Tuesday.
Hey, anytime, Bailey. Thanks for having me on, man.
Absolutely, man. Have a great day. Shout out to Bill Bender, main man, the senior writer over at the Sporting News, for joining the show, giving us his perspective college football-wise. Miami previewing Miami versus South Florida, diving into the Colorado quarterback situation, because that's an interesting thing here. I mean, it's been a massive discussion with Matt McChesney and I here. Discussed it on here yesterday with Coach Fred, and now we discussed it with Bill Bender. I think ultimately we're not going to find out until Friday hits who Colorado's starter is here. I mean, you keep seeing it, the three quarterbacks back and forth. I don't think Julian Lewis. I think Julian Lewis needs to develop, and that's no harm on him. But I think he should be the day one starter come next season, unless he hits the portal, which I would not want to see. And I think that's maybe not the right decision, but it's on the kid. Staub and Salter are expected to compete in practice this week. Like I mentioned earlier, Staub's taking first-team reps this week in practice, which is expected. I still think ultimately they're going to lean on Salter, though. I mentioned yesterday why I think it's the right decision. I think you've game planned this the entire time. Your entire offensive line, you've put a lot of effort seemingly into wanting to be a running team, running the football, and having an athletic quarterback that can run the ball, and you'll do some design runs with. I thought in Georgia Tech, had you have done that more, the offense could have, capitalized on 3 turnovers that they had instead of only coming out with 7 points off of 3 turnovers. So that's something I'd hope to see this week against Houston, but we won't find out ultimately until Friday, until they take on Houston and Willie Fritz down south, and we'll find out Friday who starts for Colorado. But again, Colorado still has no offensive identity. It's week 3. We'd hope that they address this. It only waits to be seen here. Either way, it's going to be all eyes on that game. Willie Fritz, Houston, Colorado, and Coach Prime, Big 12 opener. That's going to be a hell of a game on Friday, and we'll continue to dive into it this week here on Bailey Price Media Live. If you guys are watching, go ahead and pound that like button, subscribe, become a member. Man, we got a lot of shows planned this week, a lot of special guests potentially joining the show, special guests that may have to talk about Caleb Williams and the Bears. Stay tuned for that. We'll have Coach Fred back on later in the week for college football preview for the weekend here. We're going to do some watch parties here. We'll definitely do Colorado versus Houston watch party on Friday. Definitely some games on Saturday. Might have to do a pregame show, betting show. We'll see what we got cracking here. Definitely got a lot of stuff planned here. And, man, it'll be a great, great week here on Bailey Price Media Live. So if you're watching, pound that like button, subscribe, become a member of the Bailey Price Media Army today for only $4.99, best $4.99 you ever spend in your life here. This is the premier show for NFL and college football coverage. We'll see you guys tomorrow or Thursday, and then a lot of stuff cracking this weekend here, so stay tuned and go check out the clips later in the day. And I appreciate you all watching. Enjoy your Tuesday. Peace.
Thank you.